Okay.
All right. So welcome everyone to this live webinar. We are waiting for the room to fill with storytellers and marketers that are here to hear awesome tips and insights from our great guests. So we'll wait for a bit more. We have a limit of 100 people for today. All right. All right. So I think we can start, if you'll agree. So welcome to Brand Storytelling for Twitter and Instagram. Our two guests, Madeline Sklar and Sue B. Zieberman, will be sharing some of their top tips on and insights into sharing compelling brand stories and building community for companies on each platform. This is Katerina from Twitter Counter, and we're co-hosting this live webinar along with our friends from Iconosquare. So Emily is here to take the floor and to introduce our guests. Emily? Emily, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Okay, so I'm Emily from Iconosquare. And we're just waiting on Sue to be able to share her webcam. We can't see Sue. I don't know if Sue can still hear us.
Yes, I can hear you, and I'm not able to launch the application. So I'm going to keep trying throughout the whole webinar, but right now I'm on my mobile. Well, hi, everybody.
Okay, so Sue is, for those of you who don't know her, the author of Instagram Basics for Your Business. And she spends her time teaching entrepreneurs how to get the best out of Instagram for their businesses. So we're very happy to have Sue with us today. And I can also introduce Madeline Sklar, who is a social media power influencer and a business coach. And she spends her time teaching about Twitter on Twitter, her hashtag #TwitterSmarter. So thank you for joining us today, Madeline.
Thank you so much for having me. And you can see my nice little Twitter Smarter sign that I got from Sue B. She was able to get us these great signs. So Sue, I always get so many compliments on that sign behind me when I do all my work.
Love it. I love it. It looks great. And I wish I was on camera so you could see my background, but it will happen, hopefully.
Okay, we're waiting. Katerina, shall I hand back to you for just some house rules quickly?
Yeah, so the idea is we want to keep this very conversational. So we're promised to save 10 minutes towards the end of the session to answer any questions you guys might have for our guests. So please write down those questions in the questions section, and we'll randomly select 3 or 4 questions depending on how much time we have left to answer them. But we can start with a couple of questions we have prepared already. And I just want to start by asking you, ladies, because we've been hearing more and more about storytelling, about the power of storytelling as a marketing tactic and how it really goes hand in hand with modern marketing. Why do you think it is important for brands, storytelling is important for brands and social?
Madeline, you want to go first?
Sure, I'll go first. Well, you know, social media is getting incredibly noisy, and so you've got to find ways to stand out. And storytelling is so incredibly important for brands because you want to get your message out there. And there's so many brands doing it really well, and there are brands that are not doing it so well. But it all starts with utilizing your social media platforms to tell the story, your brand, what it is you're doing, and doing it in a way that's not salesy, which you see too many people going about it the wrong way. I'm sure later we're going to cover some do's and don'ts, but you know, it's just really important to get your message out there. That's what this is all about.
Absolutely. I agree 100% with what Madeline said. I really think that the power of visual storytelling, specifically, from imagery, photos, and now, of course, the power of video on pretty much every social tool, has really enabled people to get to know the business, the brand, the influencer in a very intimate way when they're telling their stories and not selling their product, but when they're giving value, sharing their life experiences, and really putting their value system at the forefront of everything that they do.
Absolutely. And Sue, you do such a great job of this on all your social media platforms. And since I'm here to talk about Twitter today, I love the way you doing it on Twitter. I mean, you share these really great tweets that tell a story and get people over to your site or over to your other platforms to continue the story. I think you do that really, really well.
Yeah, thanks for saying that. I think that because there's so much noise, like you said, and because people have limited time to be on social media and actively engage, you need to show up on the platforms that where your target audience, your ideal customer or client hangs out. And I know for a fact that as much as I love Instagram, and Instagram's my jam, and I'm actively on it every day, I know that my followers follow me where I go, and so I want the experiences that represent my branding to come with me. So whether I'm sharing a Snapchat story or tweeting, like you're saying, Madeline, it's very cohesive with my branding and the vibe of my branding across all social media. And I think so many people have a disconnect when it comes to their branding, and when you do have that disconnect, there's confusion, and no one really quite understands what exactly it is that you do. So I take a lot of pride in doing consistent branding every single day, and it takes time and effort, and you really need to know what your value system is that's different than everyone else that's doing what you're doing.
Definitely. One of the things that I've been doing more and more is going on Snapchat to tell stories on video and using that to get them over to my Twitter, because I'll go on Snapchat and talk about, here's some good tips, here's what's going on. Like yesterday, it was all about the new buffer being integrated with Instagram, and that was a big story. And I'll go on Snapchat to tell the story and then say, hey, come over to my Twitter where I continue the story and continue talking about this. So it's so easy to cross-promote all of your platforms together for storytelling.
Yeah, I love that you said that, Madeline. We're totally on the same wave here. Yeah, we're totally on the same wave here, because I shared that buffer news on Instagram as well, and then I brought it to the inside of my Facebook groups because it was so valuable, and I wanted everyone to get that news about buffer and the integration with Instagram, which is just awesome. So I love that you were thinking the exact same thing.
Well, the thing that I'm really big on, and I know you are too, is repurposing our content. And it used to be that because I like doing photos and being very visual like you, I used to start with Instagram and then put it on Twitter and Facebook and everywhere. And now what I'm doing is I'm utilizing Snapchat because everybody's there. I can still download the picture or the video and then go push it out to all of my social media all over the place. And it's a great way to get your story out and cover all the bases with your social platforms.
Yeah, I think it's a good idea to take a little pause on this Snapchat comment that you just made, because so many people that I talk to are saying, oh my goodness, one more platform, I don't have the bandwidth, why Snapchat? Gary Vaynerchuk just has been plastering it everywhere for the past 6 months plus, and everyone's like on board, and people are saying, well, my customers, my clients, my demographics are not there. And I love what you just said, because that's exactly what I teach my clients. And when I speak, I say the content that you can easily create from opening the Snapchat app, whether it's a 10-second video or a photo, you can download that snap, and you can download that snap story, and you can repurpose it on Twitter, on Instagram, if it's really good quality photo, guys. I'm not endorsing sharing snaps on Instagram all day long, but definitely on Facebook. So it's just another place that you can create really deep, conversational, real, raw content. so people get to know you, your personality, and the things that are valuable to you, your business, and your brand. So I love that you're talking about Snapchat. It is absolutely my favorite fun place to be because it is my daily journal. I do not write anything down. I do a Snap story every day knowing that I can save it. So I love that you're saying this, Madeline.
Yeah, and I'm doing it more and more too. I was really against it for a while, and yes, Gary Vaynerchuk is, spreading it to the world about the importance of this. And while so many brands say, well, my customers are not there, there's these stories that are being written in the past 2 weeks now that are saying they're calling us the olds, okay? Us older demographic, we're the olds that are now invading Snapchat. And so do you guys remember how that happened with Facebook years ago, right? Like the kids were on Facebook, and then all of a sudden us older people got on there, and what did the kids do? They left it and went to Instagram, they went to Twitter, they jumped on Snapchat, and we're all catching up. But our customers are either on there or they're getting on there. I'm a big fan of what's wrong with being on there first and laying down the foundation, so when your when your customers are there, you've already built a house. There's nothing wrong with that.
I totally agree. Yeah, I love being the frontier. I love trying any new tool, and I love, like you said, laying the foundation and being ready for when they come, because they are coming every day. I don't know about you, Madeline. Every day I get about 30 to 40 new followers on Snapchat, and I get about 400 to 500 people viewing every snap.
Yeah, it's getting crazy. Yeah, it's awesome though, and repurposing all that content is so simple to do. So yeah, that's awesome that you're doing that, Sue.
Yeah, I love it.
That's so great, guys. Thank you for that. Talking about where your community is and what kind of things you're going to be talking about, can we just ask you, what is it that makes it that a brand has an interesting short story to share? Can it be any brand, or do you think that you have to be a special type of brand to be able to share your story like this on social media?
I'll go first here, Madeline.
Yeah.
Only because I'm so hard on this. I think every single business has a story to share, period. Whether you're a lawyer or an accountant or you're B2B, people really want to know the philosophy, the values behind that business, that brand, that company. And I think it's so important to have your brand collateral. You know exactly what your values are, and teach them to the executive leaders, to the employees, to your brand advocates, and make sure that everyone is on the same page so that you can consistently broadcast in the same way, so that when people see that image or hear you speak or see that tweet come in, they know that it has that brand identity with it.
I absolutely agree 100%. I mean, everybody has a story. It doesn't matter what you do. It doesn't matter whether you're B2B, B2C. Every single person on the planet has something to say. So come up with your story that aligns with your vision, your message, whatever it is you want to get out there. I mean, one of the things you were saying earlier, Sue, is talking about, spreading the word about what you do. People don't always realize what exactly I do. My bio used to start off saying Twitter marketing strategist. And I started asking people, do you know what that even means? And they said, no, I really actually don't know what that means. And I had to change the bio to reflect what is exactly my story and start putting tweets out that really talk about the message and what I do. And it's made a huge difference with my brand. So coming up with the story that aligns with what exactly you do, so many people tell me they're afraid, they think they'll be spammy if they put it out there. And it's you're not being spammy. It's cool to do the 80-20 rule. 20% of your tweets, 20% of any of your social media posts can be about your business, and use that opportunity to tell your story.
Yeah, I just would like to add to that for a second. When you said, your bio, Madeline, I always say when I'm coaching clients and they're doing their Instagram bio specifically, if there is a word in there that a 10-year-old doesn't understand, chances are that most people who are business owners are confused, spiritual analyst, or, when I'm confused, if I look at words and I have no idea what that means, and exactly what you do in 3 to 6 seconds on Instagram, I am not going to try to figure it out. It's not my job to figure it out. It's your job as the brand, as the company, as the person behind the company, to make it crystal clear so that everyone knows exactly what you do. And Madeline, I love that you revisited your bio. I do this 4 times a year. I take a bio audit, and I'd like for the listeners to understand that I have 2 Instagram accounts. My personal one, Sue B. Zimmerman, the expert one, my business, Instagram expert. And on my personal, I recently did a bio audit because it sounded too similar to my business account. And I decided to make it more personal so people really got a sense of me, the person behind my business. And if you look at my bio on Instagram, at Sue B. Zimmerman, you will see my 3 golden rules that I teach on Snapchat every single day. And that aligns more with me, the persona behind the business. And if you go to the Instagram expert, you will clearly see that I share daily tips, tools, and Instagram strategies, and that's in the bio. So I think that if you are the person behind the business and brand, you need to have this delineation between the two, but they also need to be cohesive in many ways.
Absolutely, because it's so easy for us to know in our mind like what it is we do, but is your brand portraying that? I see people, put together these great logos, and they put together their business pages on Twitter and Instagram, and you look at it, and there is a disconnect many times. It's like, okay, I'm not really sure I understand what exactly does this company do, and they're not letting me know in bio, and their storytelling, if there's any in their social media, is not really conveying it. So I think it's great that you do that for some years. I
think we lost her. Are you guys still there?
Yeah.
Emily? You guys good?
I can't hear Madeline. Ah, there she is.
Okay.
Yeah, I think I said my connection got slow. I don't know. Can y'all see me now?
Yeah.
You can see now, yeah.
Okay.
And just to let you guys know, I'm so slowly launching the application. You should be able to see me very shortly.
Great.
That's great.
Yay.
Madeline, we lost the last part of your.
Here I am.
I would just say that I think everybody should do what Sue's talking about, and 4 times a year, if not more, go and look at your bios on all your social media sites and do an audit. I think that's brilliant. So many times when I'm working with a new client, the very first thing I always have to do is redo their bio. The bios are always terrible, and they need to be worded to reflect the business. So, and to utilize all 160 characters on Twitter, you get 160. It can be challenging, but I see too many brands just putting like a one-liner, and a one-liner is not going to tell the story of who and what you are. So I think it's really important to do this.
Yeah, absolutely. I think Sue is trying to reconnect through her desktop, but perhaps we can carry on with the next question. We can start from the Twitter case. Like, could you give us some good examples off the top of your head of brands that are doing a great job sharing their story on Twitter?
Yeah, I mean, there are definitely brands that are doing it right. First one that comes to mind is Coca-Cola. I mean, of course, naturally, one of the top brands in the world would be doing this right, and they should be doing it right. And it's such a great example for everybody. So when you go look at their Twitter, they're doing some really great storytelling through video. And I'll share some examples. I know you're going to have us share some examples of some, but like Starbucks does a really good job with this. Also, there she is. Sue Zimmerman does a great job of this. You go look at her Twitter, and she is doing great examples of storytelling. So it's not just the big brands, it's also smaller businesses that are getting it, and they're doing it right.
Absolutely. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yes.
Yep.
Perfect. Any good examples from good brand storytelling on Instagram you could share with us?
Yeah, so I pulled a couple of my favorites, you guys. I have so many, but first of all, let me just say, if any of you come on over to Instagram at the Instagram expert and leave me a comment, double tap on that last photo and leave me a comment, I will give you an example for your industry. So even to the replay listeners, thanks so much for signing up for this webinar. Sorry you couldn't be on live, but I will personally tag anyone that you need to see who's doing it well in your industry. Some examples that come to mind for me, and I always like to share a nonprofit because I think the nonprofits in the world work so hard and deserve to have recognition. And one of my favorites of all favorites on Instagram is Charity Water, because not only are they showing the feeling that they get as an organization when they give clean water to third world countries, they also show amazing smiling faces of kids in the family that receive the clean water. And I just love that account. Another great example of a charity account is called Whiskey Weissman, and I'm going to drop all these in the chat in a minute so that you guys have all the links. Weissman, this is a nonprofit where you literally go and you taste whiskey, and it's a fundraiser for events when you're tasting whiskey. So this is a really great guy account. A lot of my are typically more feminine based because I do a lot of my demographics that I teach are women. So I wanted to give that example. And then my all-time favorite, because I am a hashtag blowout junkie, is the Dry Bar. That's where I get my hair blown dry whenever I travel. And the reason this account is so spot on with their branding on all of social, specifically Instagram, is because their feed feels like a magazine. It pulls you in emotionally and you feel like you are physically in the Dry Bar, which is where you go to get your hair blown dry. So I literally, when I walk in the door at the Dry Bar, I feel like I'm walking into their Instagram account. They know that their target audience loves flowers, fresh flowers. They often have kids. You'll see cute kids. You'll see their dogs. They know that they love fashion. You'll see a lot of fashion. You'll see a lot of inspirational quotes that are totally on point with their brand and not some random quotes that they're just filling their feed with. And they sprinkle their brand color, which is called Buttercup, the color of their hair dryer, throughout their feed on Instagram. And I think it is just branding on fleek. So you guys definitely want to check that out. I can give a few more examples if you guys want a couple more.
Sure, go ahead.
So another great account I think that does a really good job on Instagram is Airbnb, AIRBNB, which is basically the feeling that you get when you travel and stay at different places over the world. And I really want to emphasize this point, which is on Instagram, to have great success on Instagram, I mean really great success, you have to get very clear on who your target audience is. You have to get super clear on your branding and the aesthetics behind your branding. So branding can be feelings and words and the way you look and the way you present yourself, but on Instagram, it's the feeling, the theme that you carry out throughout your whole Instagram account, so that it's not just one post that you're thinking about, but you're thinking about the whole vibe of your feed. And I like to say that it's like a magazine where you're literally turning the pages, but instead on Instagram, you're scrolling through the feed and you feel like you are, like it's all consistent and you know that the brand is on point. So any of you that need more inspiration with brands that are crushing it on Instagram, if you look at who I'm following on Instagram, at the Instagram expert, I'm following a little over 300 accounts that all do an amazing job at branding their Instagram account and pulling you in to that theme, that feeling, that visual eye candy behind their brand.
I just want to add to that, when you're talking about the Dry Bar, is that the name of it, the Dry Bar?
Yeah.
So what's so brilliant about what they're doing is they know who their audience is. And so many times when I'm working with clients, I say, who's your audience? I can't tell you how many times they go, I don't know. And they have this bewildered look on their face. You have to know who your audience is and know what things to do for them. So it's brilliant that the Dry Bar is posting things so that when you do walk in the door, I love that. Like, you feel like you're in their Instagram. That really says they're doing it right. And then
Yeah.
also talking about themes and colors. I love
I'm gonna
Peg
switch this.
Fitzpatrick. Oh, I love that view. That's good. Peg Fitzpatrick, who's an amazing social media marketer, her theme color is purple, and everything she does is purple. And what's so cool is when you're on any social media site, and like, you'll start recognizing her brand, the way she utilizes the colors. And Rebecca Radice does this as well with orange. And so it's really cool when you see a lot of social media marketers that with their brand will have a theme color that you just will immediately recognize, just like with Coca-Cola in the red. So I think that's a really smart way to go as well.
Yeah, I love that you mentioned Peggy Fitzpatrick because I'm sure you'll agree, Madeline, she is the social media ninja that can be on every platform and show up every day and be consistent with her branding and give a ton of value. And she is just one of the sweetest people to know if you don't know Peggy. And the same with Rebecca Radice. Madeline, I don't know if you know this, but she was on stage with me at Creative Live. And I love that you pointed out her orange color. And she, in her slide deck, because that's so important, if branding is part of your branding is your color. Like, I love bright colors. I'm always in bright colors. But if it's a specific color, like Peggy has that fuchsia pink and Rebecca has that awesome orange, it should be part of your branding when you're presenting and you're creating content, visual content that you're sharing on Twitter, on Instagram, and obviously when you have a slide deck too. And they both do a great job at that. I love that you mentioned them.
Yeah, and they both can be easily found online with their names, Peg Fitzpatrick and Rebecca Radice, and it's Ekahradice. They're both doing it really well.
Great, thank you so much. Can we now ask you, we've talked about what we can do, what we should do. Is there anything that we should avoid?
Not to be salesy.
Yeah, am I allowed to have a little bit of a potty mouth here?
What's the rating of this webinar? Is this a PG-13 or an R?
Okay, so what you need to know about me is that, yeah, I'm not quite as bad as Gary Vaynerchuk, but I definitely have a little potty mouth. And in one of my slides, when I present, I have this slide that says social media is not sell my shit media. Social media is broadcasting, amplifying your business, your values, what it is that you do, and connecting and relating to other people who you want to serve. And you are broadcasting to drive traffic to your website, always to your website. And so if you're going to drive traffic to your website, you better be damn sure that your website is on point with your branding. I mean, literally on point. You know that when you land on my website, I have an overtone of a whole nautical vibe. I live here on Cape Cod in the summer, and everything I do in my branding is around the feeling you get when it's like when you're near the ocean, when you're on Cape Cod and that nautical pull. So I always say, people who are promoting on social media and the first thing they're doing is like sending me a direct message and they haven't even said, hi, my name is X and I do X, and they're, you want to buy my skincare product or check out this weight loss thing. I'm like, okay, do you know that I'm like pretty healthy and I have pretty good skin? Like, did you even check out who I am and what I do before you started selling? So and I know, Madeline, you are so good at this. You are awesome at this, and I think this is why we are here with Iconosquare, is because I always lead with building those relationships here online, in a webinar, in person, whenever I can. And Peggy Fitzpatrick's going to be coming to my Cape House to be a part of an event I'm doing, and connecting with influencers, people who, lift me higher in my business. And so I like to say that if you're feeling negativity, if you're not feeling happy when you wake up, then you really should think about who you and your brand is associating with, because Iconosquare, I got to connect with Rowan when we were at, did I say his name right? Is it Rowan? The founder, the CEO? Is that how you say his name? Emily?
Oh, maybe that's right.
I mean, I
Well,
thought you were Madeline. Well, you're
I
happy
think it's
about
right.
that.
I got to connect with the founder when we were at Social Media Marketing World, and of course we took an Instagram photo. And I just, because I use Iconosquare, I talk about it when I teach. It's a tool that I teach, and so I don't want to be doing business with the logo Iconosquare that used to be Statagram. I want to be doing business with the people behind this brilliant tool and teaching it to my followers and my, the people that are trying to really analyze their Instagram success with data. And so it was so great that I got to connect to the person behind the logo. Because the other thing, and then I'll throw it over to Madeline, the other thing that I say you don't do unless you're a big brand, you don't have your logo be your avatar. People do not want to do business with logos. Unless you're a retail store or you're selling a product, people want to see your face. People want to connect to you, the person behind the brand. And I'm assuming that a lot of people listening are small, medium-sized businesses. Unless you are building a brand around a logo on Instagram specifically, and I know on Twitter, people want to see your face, unless it's a big business.
Absolutely. I mean, it's a brilliant stuff you're saying. It's about the people behind the brand. It's not just about the logo. I work with Hootsuite quite a bit. I have a Twitter chat every Thursday called Twitter Smarter, and we've brought Hootsuite into the mix, and we now do this little weekly question before we start the chat with our regular Q&A guests. And it's nice to know that there are people behind the brand. Like, there are people there that honestly care about everybody. Oh, that's cute, Sue. That really care about everybody, and that is not just the logo you're looking at. That is the people behind the logo. And a lot of these brands, Buffer and Hootsuite, are really big with letting the employees take over the accounts with all the social media and let everybody see the personal side to these brands, which I think is really, really important. But going back to the original question, people these brands need to stay away from being salesy because it does not work. And I too get those direct messages all the time that are like, and what's so funny is I always say, if you're at a cocktail party, and Twitter's like the big cocktail party, are you just going to come walk up to me and throw your book in my face and say, buy my book? And I don't even know who you are. No, you would never do that. Well, maybe like, 0.01% of the population would do that. But most of us would never think of just going up to a stranger at a party, at a business networking event. You would never go up to a stranger and not introduce yourself before a hard sell. And you shouldn't even be doing a hard sell. It's about relationships, getting to know people first. And even if you're running the brand account and it's just the logo, you still want to be people behind the logo and not about just selling.
This is great. This is great tip, Madeline. But since we're talking about marketing, and I'm sure many of the people here today, they want to know if there's a way to actually measure the success of their story or the impact their story has. Are there any metrics they should be looking at?
Any metrics?
Yes, like what is the way to measure your success or the impact your story has on your audience?
Well, then, there's a variety of ways to do that. There's, third-party apps for your analytics, but also just the analytics within the platform. Like Twitter has great analytics. So many people tell me they don't even realize it's right there under your nose. Analytics.twitter.com, or in the pull-down menu at the top right when you're on a browser. You can't do it on mobile, but on a browser, top right, you click, and then you will see a link that says analytics. And there's so much information. It's so valuable. It'll let you know which tweets are getting traction, that are popular, so you can see are the ones that are telling the story working. I use Buffer a lot, and Buffer has great analytics, so I can see which tweets are getting the most clicks, the most retweets, the most likes, and that can help me as well with which ones are working when I'm telling my story. So there's so many different third-party apps. I'm eager to hear yours, Sue, which ones you use.
Yeah, I use Iconosquare and have been using it since day one of being on Instagram, but I have to say I'm doing the Insta Happy Dance because 4 days ago when Instagram rolled out the business profile, I got one, and right within the app, you can look at your insights, and you can promote a post. And this is super exciting. If you don't have it yet, it's rolling out. Don't worry. I don't think there's any like specific thing that you have to have in order to get it. But if you go over to the Instagram Expert, you'll see that my profile looks a little different there. I now have a contact button, and people can get in touch with me. But more importantly, the bar to the right of it gives you those insights directly in the Instagram apps. You can look at your impressions for the week, you can look at your reach for the week, and you can look at the amount of clicks to your website. And the way that we measure success in our business, and by the way, I use Sprout Social, Madeline, to organize our tweets, and we look at a lot of the Facebook insight as well, because Facebook is our #1 lead generator for us, even more than Instagram. So we look at that data, and if you look at our page on Facebook, Subi Zimmerman Enterprise, you'll see our organic reach is really great because of the way that we post, again, back to that not selling but giving value all the time, especially on your business page. And on Instagram, so in addition to Iconosquare, in addition to the insight right in the app, for me, the biggest measurement is how many people are actually taking action and going to our website and opting in to our email list. And that is my measurement, most importantly, because we get about 250 new email opt-ins from Instagram alone every week. And for me, back to the nurture, back to the relationship, I don't want to be selling. I want to be building that relationship. So now we're able to send a weekly newsletter that gives value, that has my YouTube video embedded in it so that people can consume the content either by reading it or watching it and learn from watching me, so that when we do have something to sell, when we're actually selling a product or an ebook, people will be ready to purchase, because there's this whole law of reciprocity. The more that you give and help other people have success, the more grateful they become, and the more they trust you, and the more they talk about you. And my favorite thing is when other people talk about me, so I don't have to talk about myself, right?
You're making such a good point, because the goal with any brand should be to get people onto your mailing list. Mailing list is gold. I've been a digital online marketer for 20 years, and when social media started, prior to social media, it was all about your mailing list. That's how you were able to sell, because people are opting in. They want to hear from you and they want to buy from you in that capacity. Then with social media, it's all about getting your message out to as many people as possible, but still trying to get people to join your mailing list, because if you're opting in, you truly want to hear from that brand or that person, whatever it is, and that is where you have the opportunity to provide great value and the opportunity to sell if you have a book or a course or whatever it is you're doing. And I see that so many businesses are failing in this area. They're looking at analytics, they're confused by what it all means, they're not getting people over to their mailing list. The beauty of social media is we have the opportunity to broadcast out all over the internet with it. But the goal should be to always pull people into the mailing list, because I could post on Facebook all day long, and Instagram and Twitter and Snapchat. I'm not going to reach everybody that way. I'll reach people at different times of the day. A lot of times it's just luck that they happen to be on, or they catch it later through the noise. But when they get the email, you have the opportunity, as long as it's not going to their spam folder, you have the opportunity for that email to get to them. And so you have a better chance of always reaching people in that capacity. And then going back to the analytics, Twitter Counter has a really great tool for your Twitter stats. I've always loved using that. I think Twitter Counter is a brilliant platform. Iconosquare, I'm sorry to say I haven't used it yet, but I would like to check that out, because it's nice to be able to have stats for your Instagram. So I've always heard great things about it. So it's one of those on my list.
Yeah, let me just elaborate with what Iconosquare does for Instagram if people are listening and they haven't even checked it out yet. And there is a 7-day free trial, and it's so inexpensive monthly. And correct me if I'm wrong, it's under $30 for the year. Did that go up, you guys, or is that right?
It's 28.
Okay, so under $30, so good. Yeah. I mean, it's so worth it. So when I was first on Instagram, and for those of you that are just getting started, I say don't even pay attention to your Instagram data until you've been on it for like 2 or 3 months, because you don't know what people are going to like based on the content that you're sharing. So get that theme down, get that posting strategy down, and then go into Iconosquare and look at the time of day where you're getting the most engagement. And so that's typically when you should be posting, not always, and sometimes I go rogue and I don't post when I typically do, and I get more engagement on that post. So it's not hard, hard truths here, but they're guidelines to look at. And I say don't pay attention to who is unfollowing you on Instagram. Chances are they weren't meant to be following you in the first place. Don't get caught up in the numbers, get caught up in the quality of the people that you're attracting. For me, my biggest measurement on Instagram, like I said, is that email list, but the second is the comments, the real comments, not the spammy comments, not the bot comments, but the comments where people actually say, I cannot wait to sign up for the webinar, and why is it full? like stuff like that. Like that's real, that's a real person. And then I said, it's okay, there's a replay, so sign up anyway.
Well said.
That's awesome.
Okay. Last question, and then we'll move on to, I think we have some other questions we can ask. If there is one thing that brands can do on each platform, so on Twitter and on Instagram, what would it be and why?
I would like to see more video. I think video is underutilized. Since my specialty is Twitter, I think people don't realize this. For the last year and a half, you've had the ability to make videos on your mobile with your phone. Like on my phone, I could go compose a tweet, and when you see the little camera icon, used to be you had to tap on it and then you would see the video. It's no longer like that. The video icon's actually there now, and there's another one that says live. If you tap live, that puts you onto Periscope. And like I could Periscope right now by tapping one button in Twitter to compose, but the video camera icon has been there for a year and a half, and it allows you to create videos right on the fly. I can make a video just like you think of Snapchat, right? We get on Snapchat and we make a little 10-second video, right? You can get on Twitter, do the exact same thing, but open up, compose a tweet, and you can do up to, it was 30 seconds, then a minute. It is now, they made it 140 seconds, so it's 2 minutes and 20 seconds, which is amazing. Like you could go make a long form, not long form. When I say long form, I mean more than Snapchat. We're all doing these 10-second Snapchats, which is challenging. I'm sure, Sue, you can relate how challenging it is to, I think I finally got it down. I feel like I'm
really fast. I talk really fast.
The kids do it like perfectly. I'm like, how do you do that? And like when we're all new at it, it cuts you off before the 10, when you get to the 10 seconds. But the beauty with Twitter is you can go way beyond that and really get a message out. I think that's really cool.
Yeah, I love that you can do jump cut in Twitter as well as you can in Instagram. So I'll definitely echo that video, video, like you guys feel our energy, you see us, you saw our photos online as this was being promoted, and now you get to hear our voice, see our eyes, connect with us, which is just so much more intimate. I think the word, for me, the word is intimacy. How intimate can you get with people so that they really feel connected to you, your business, and your brand? On Instagram, I recommend sharing videos if you're good at it, if you're comfortable at it. On Snapchat, it can be quick, fun little snips, but if you're going to share it on Instagram, I think you need to up level the content that you're sharing more so than Snapchat. And I like to do it every 10 or 12 posts so that it's part of my content strategy on Instagram, and I get so many more views on my videos than I do on my posts because views count after just 3 seconds. But I think that if you are comfortable speaking, if you're a podcaster, if you're a musician, if you are a speaker and you have a good message that you feel that you can broadcast, and you have a diva light, because that's the best light to get, to make sure that your lighting is always good, sharing video on Instagram can absolutely be a strategy. I love watching like the bloopers and the behind the scenes of businesses when they actually screw up in something that they've done, because that completely humanizes their brand as far as I'm concerned. Because let's face it, you can delete a snap, you can delete an Instagram post, you can delete a tweet, and you can look absolutely picture perfect online, but that shit ain't real. You've got to show people, that you're not perfect. You screw up, you make mistakes. I mean, listen, I couldn't get on the video, so what did I do? I grabbed my phone and I wanted to be here, so you got my voice and I figured it out. But it's okay. I think people are brands and people and businesses are just afraid of failing, and I am the girl that always says progress, not perfection. Move it forward, folks, because you will be paralyzed with doing nothing. And so I think showing brands can really show more of the heartaches behind what it takes to be successful. And obviously successful means different things to different people. But I like it when that they're scooping an ice cream at Ben and Jerry's and oops, it fell on the floor. What do you do next? Like, show me that, like how you clean it up and how you take care of it. So that's my little hashtag Subi rant.
I love it. But you're making such great points, Sue. It's all about being real. That's what's so great about live streaming with Periscope and with Facebook Live. Some of these brands are like, oops, you're going to see the real and raw. That's what it's all about, and that's what we all love. With Snapchat, there was a guy that kind of started this trend of one-take snaps, so that if you make a mistake, leave it in anyway. Put it in black and white. That was like this trend you'll see sometimes.
I like
put it in black and white, and even put hashtag one take snap, and it's kind of fun doing that, because you're showing that oops, I made a mistake, and we all tried to be too perfect. And so with live streaming, there's no hiding behind that, and I think that's why a lot of brands are afraid to try Facebook Live. I mean, all the brands I work with, I'm like pushing them on Snapchat videos, Facebook Live. Let everybody see the brand and see the humanized aspect of it, not this stuffy logo that everybody knows. So
right.
I think we're going to see more and more of that as live streaming starts evolving. It's getting really big. Yeah, and you made a good point too, Sue. A lot of people are terrified of live video. They are terrified to hold a phone up to themselves because you're just going to see your face on video. You can't see the audience. They can see you. The one-to-many terrifies so many people. I'm a big fan of ready, fire, aim. Just do it, go for it. You'll tweak it as you go. You'll perfect it as you go. And back to what I said earlier, you're building the foundation. So get on Facebook Live now. Utilize video when you're on Instagram. Utilize video when you're on Twitter. Go use Snapchat. Use all these platforms. Use the video so people see you.
Yes, and I want to echo that and just say to everyone that needs to practice, I think the best place to practice is Snapchat, because you're literally walking around, people are looking at you like, why are you holding up your phone? It's like, it's all good, you guys. You're in my Snap and you didn't even know it. But I've been on Periscope for over a year, and I just want to let the listeners know, because of my relentless commitment to Periscope and giving value live streaming and loving it and taking people with me when I travel, when I speak, and bringing people in that I'm speaking with, all the other influencers when I'm at Social Media Marketing World or wherever I speak, I'm introducing people to my people and connecting this world and making this global world a nicer, more connected place. And I've been on Periscope for a year now and have over 21,000 followers on that platform. But of all my platforms, my conversion rate to actually, when I say conversion rate with Periscope, it's like people wanting to work with me, and the money that I've made in the shortest period of time from any social platform, hands down, has been Periscope, because of what Madeline's saying. It's like, okay, she is just so real and raw. She's with her dog. She's rollerblading. She's on the Cape. She's working. Like, she's showing me, she's walking the talk. I am just not talking, but I'm literally showing and teaching every day. And people like that. They want that. And they feel that you can, they have access to you. So, Madeline, I'm on Facebook Live, love it. But there's something about Periscope where people can instantly comment, and I can as if we're right here, right now.
Exactly. And it's so great that now the way they integrated it into the Compose, which I knew was coming because, Twitter owns Periscope. So I thought it was just a matter of time. You got Facebook Live. I'm calling it Twitter Live because everybody has the ability now on your phone. When you're doing Compose, you'll now see the live button. If you're on an iPhone, it's very obvious. If you're on an Android, you have to do like an extra tap to get to it. But you can hit the button and you're now live. And I do it once a week. After my Twitter chat, I do like a little after chat video. People, every week I go, do y'all want me to keep doing this? And everybody's like, yes, keep doing it. We love it. So
Perfect. I
exactly
love that. Hashtag after chat. After chat. That's good.
Exactly.
That was a long answer, but I hope that was good, you guys.
That's good.
We like
We
to
can
talk.
give long answers. We're good at that, right, Sue?
We have a couple of questions from the people who are listening. So we have a question from Marika, which is a long question. But basically what she's asking is, should brands just listen to the numbers that they're getting out of their brand storytelling? Should they just be looking at the metrics, or should there be something a little bit more human about it as well? Is there something else that we can feel from this?
So I definitely know that bigger brands have a lot of people to answer to, and they can't move as nimbly and quickly as the smaller business and posting. Sometimes they have to have a serious content calendar around a campaign, and they need to look at their analytics. I know this because I've had big brands on my panels at Social Media Marketing World. They just can't make a quick decision. And so is she a small business or is she a big business? What's her industry, did she say?
No, she's not said.
Yeah, so I think it's really important to know for your business, what are the metrics that matter to you? And if you're, like Madeline and I are small business owners. I have a team of 2 full-time employees, 4 part-time contractors, and a team in the Philippines. So I'm not like a corporate business by any means, but we know what metrics that we analyze and what data we analyze, and we do that all through our content management system, which is Entreport. We look at our data through Google Analytics, through the bit.ly links that we put in Instagram so that we can see the success of everything that we do. So we are definitely analyzing, but that is not what drives the decisions that we make in our business from a day-to-day basis.
Yeah, everything Sue said.
Great. We have another question as well, actually, from Priska M. Do I really have to be on every live platform?
No. Can I take this one? Okay, my brain thinks visually. I'm the kid that could put together the puzzle the fastest, or not look at the words but look at the visuals and put together furniture. And if you have a hard time being on many platforms, I always teach my clients to focus on one, be a master at one, and don't get pulled into the rabbit hole of what everyone else is doing because it's the latest and greatest tool. And everyone says, you got to get on Periscope, you got to get on Snapchat, you got to get on Facebook Live. I live for this stuff. I love cross-promoting. It makes my brain, it just fuels me every day to be able to take the content, like Madeline said, and consistently carry it over from platform to platform, knowing that my followers and my students and my fans are going with me. And so that when I'm broadcasting and sharing, it's to an audience. It's not just for kicks and giggles, because listen, we're all running businesses here. So everything you have to do is with intention. So I always say, are you having fun? Because if you're not having fun, then don't do it. Emoji girl, X. If you are having fun and you're just trying to get better at it, then commit to it and schedule it in your calendar. Let me just show you guys something. Make sure you have a calendar. And make sure you have
one just like that. That is too funny, Sue.
Make sure it is color-coded. That's all I got to say from this brain.
Mine is too.
Make sure you have a calendar and it's color-coded. And make sure that if you're going to commit to it, go all in. And don't feel like you need to be doing what everyone else is doing. You need to take an inventory of your own business and what makes you happy every day that you wake up. And if you are waking up stressed with no time for yourself or your family or your husband, something is wrong in your business and you need to fix it, because you guys, we got one life. Make it a good one. That's what I have to say.
I totally agree. It's so true. And so many people will say the same thing, like, I don't have the bandwidth to do this. I just have not enough hours in the day. People like Sue and I, this is all we do. Like, this is our part of our job. Like, I live for being on every platform and being very visible and having people say, Madeline, I see you everywhere, but that is my job. So for most businesses, most brands, you got to find what works for you. Some people like Facebook Live, some people like Periscope, you find, and Snapchat, find what works for you and go all in on it, is what I always say. I have the same ideals, Sue. I love it.
Yeah, they matched us up good, Madeline. I'm glad.
I sure did.
I don't know, do we have time for one more?
Yeah,
I have
one.
Okay, so we have one from JC Dupree here, who has said that for my brand, I have received a lot of feedback from readers who enjoy my Snapchat for the realness and want to see more of that on Instagram. How do you suggest bringing my brand's Snapchat voice to Instagram? I think that's one for Sue.
Yeah, so I love that question, and hopefully you're following me on Snapchat and you'll get a sense of what I do to cross-pollinate to Instagram. My standards on Instagram are much higher than Snapchat, and when I say that, I mean my posting standards, the quality of my visual content, because it doesn't go away the next day. It's there forever. And so for me, when I post on Instagram, I have some hardcore rules, which are the photo always has to be fabulous with great lighting, no grainy photos. It always has to be on point with my branding and my brand story, and it always has to have that magazine vibe, so that if you look at and you scroll back at least 9 posts, that the same energy, the same person, the same brand that you see on Snapchat is just a little toned down, a little bit more succinct on Instagram. And when I say succinct, I mean every time I craft an Instagram post, I am thinking, okay, there's 500 million users on Instagram right now. If someone were to read this that has no idea who I am, how would they feel, and am I giving them value? Because you have to assume that people don't know you, and you have to assume that every single time you post anywhere, you can't assume that everyone knows what you're trying to say. You have to be clear, you have to be concise, and you have to give a lot of value. We keep saying this word value, and for me, value means how can I help other people have success and make more money doing Instagram? Because I always say, no bee, no honey, no work, no money.
That's awesome. I think it's smart to, take the good snaps you have that have good lighting, that are not too grainy, and put them onto Instagram and let people see what you're basically taking Snapchat over to Instagram, but do it in a way like what Sue says, with a purpose, with meaning. So many people get on Instagram and just post to post. Like I'm just going to post stuff that I want to post, but when you're a business, you got to think about who's going to see this and what is it going to mean to them. So you don't want to just take everything on Snapchat and throw it on the Instagram, but take your good stuff. And here's one of the things that I like to do. So I kind of started this thing on Fridays, and I try to do it every Friday. Sometimes I don't, but I try to, like, on a Friday, I walk my dog every morning. So a lot of times I'll just start snapping. And so on Fridays, I like it to be kind of like, let me share some tips. Let me share something of value on Snapchat. And then what I do is I'll take one of the pictures or one of the 10-second videos and put it on my Twitter to be like, hey, check out this story I did on Snapchat, and link it over to that. And then I don't do it I should do it more on Instagram too. Of course, I always do it on Twitter, but you could do the same thing. Put that little teaser 10-second video on your Instagram and use that to get your Instagram followers over, and you can do vice versa, do the same thing over on Snapchat to get them over to Instagram.
Yeah, that's great advice. And if you are heavy on Snapchat and seeing a lot of great success, that's the story I would be sharing there. Like, come with me. I'm going to be active on Instagram, and I'd love to take you with me. I'd love to cross-pollinate with me, I like to say. And you've got to broadcast. You've got to tell people. You have to talk to people like they're 10. You literally have to tell them exactly what CTA call to action you want to give them, because if it's not clear what your call to action is, they're not going to do it. They can't be in your brain thinking about what it is you want them to do. You have to literally say what to do without sounding too bossy. And I know sometimes I sound a little bossy.
But you do it so well. You're so awesome, Sue.
Thanks.
Okay. So I'm afraid we ran out of time, but unfortunately we have to wrap it up. But hope you guys enjoyed the session, got some useful tips, some inspiration on how to share your brand story on Twitter and Instagram. Madeline and Sue, thank you so much for joining us and for sharing your insights and your best tips. We learned
All right, you guys
lot.
all look at the camera and smile because I'm taking a screenshot, and I want you not to have your mouth, like, ready? On 3. 1, 2.
Awesome. Woohoo!
Okay. So for everybody in the audience, keep an eye out. We're going to be sending an email with the recordings in the coming days to you and to all the people who were not able to attend the live session. Thank you so much for joining us for this webinar. Have a great day if you're in the U.S., a great evening if you're based in Europe like Emily and I.
Can Madeline and I give a call to action to everyone for at the end?
Absolutely. Yes.
Okay, Madeline, I'm going to lead, and I know that you'll follow.
Absolutely.
So I invite every single one of you, and I love action takers. If you took the time to be with us here today, we so appreciate it because as far as I'm concerned, time is money for all of us. So I want to see each and every one of you, yep, you guessed it, on Instagram. So come on over to @theinstagramexpert and introduce yourself and say, hey, I was on, tag Iconosquare, @mention Iconosquare. They'll be so happy. Their Instagram feed will blow up.
Twitter counter, please.
Oh, and @Twitter counter as well. Are you guys on Instagram? Are you on Instagram too?
We are on Instagram, yes.
All right, I need to follow you guys. So make sure that you @mention Twitter counter, @mention Iconosquare, and leave a comment and let me know what your favorite takeaway was, or if you have a question, I'll answer it. Over to you, Madeline.
And same thing here. I want you to go over to Twitter @Madeline Sklar, and I want you to tweet me, and I want you to also tag Iconosquare and Twitter counter and Sue B. Zimmerman, and let's all have a conversation there. I'd like to know what you got out of this. Like, what was the one thing that really helped you? And if you have a question that we didn't answer that you want to ask me, feel free to ask me a question. If you tweet me @Madeline Sklar, I will respond back to you. I always do. And I love action takers.
This is great. Thank you so much, ladies. And yeah, let's take it to Twitter and Instagram.
Awesome. Thanks for having me. We love you.
Thanks, everybody. This was fun.
Bye, guys. Bye, everybody.
That was fun, Sue. We got to do this
That
again.
was a lot of fun. Catch you on Snapchat.
Okay.
Bye, everyone.